Kevin, thank you so much for this interview. I'm from Chile, so we'll be meeting very soon in in a couple of days and in November. So I want to ask a few questions about this tour you are doing and the shows you are going to do in Chile. So for start, um, I was wondering, how has this goodbye tour been so far?
Oh, it's been amazing. I mean, it's odd to make a decision about retiring when you're at the top of your game and you release a record like The Long Goodbye. But it's also a, 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 a much needed change in my life. So I think that, the touring we did all summer with Three Doors Down, we played in front of, hundreds of thousands of people. It was just an amazing time. It's been a really beautiful year for us. And coming down to South America to play two festivals and two of our own shows. I mean, it's just, if you'd have told me that 30 years ago that this was going to happen to me, I wouldn't have believed you. I say that with all the confidence in the world. It just never seemed to me that Candlebox was going to be a band for 30 years. Even though that's something that I think we all wanted, and certainly when we started the band together and made the first record, that we assumed that was going to happen, or you have dreams of it happening. But it's everything was stacked against us, and the fact that I'm able to come down to Chile and play 4 shows in 1 month, at the ripe old age of 54 on my 8th studio album, and 30 years later my career, is just, it's mind-blowing to me. But I pinch myself every day that this is what I get to do, and yeah, I'm gonna miss this, but at the same time, it's time for me to put this stuff away and be a dad and a husband.
Yeah, sure. We are also cannot believe that you're doing 4 shows. It's amazing for us. The Candlebox fans here in Chile are extremely happy. But so yeah, some bands last 50 years, even 60 or longer. But when did you know it was the right time to put a stop to this?
Well, I think I just based it on, the debut album turning 30. It was really just about, that's quite a milestone to reach. And I think that I just kind of embraced the fact that I felt like it was emotionally and musically time for me to put things away. I'm not in love with music anymore the way I was. It's not my first love, and that's a scary feeling, because it's been everything to me since I can remember. Being 4 years old, coming home from being out and playing, and the music was on in the house. I mean, my entire family was musical. My mother was always singing. My dad was always playing jazz music. So, it's been part of my life since I can remember. And that's not to say that I won't continue to listen to music and find new music out there, or maybe produce bands, but I certainly am not going to continue to make albums, for a couple thousand people to listen to. It's emotionally exhausting, and that's where I was. And I think that that's when I realized it was time for me to put this away. It was that kind of musical side of me was just like, listen, you're not feeling this anymore, and it's maybe that's okay to put things away.
Yeah. So besides spending more time with your family, is there anything else you are going to do, like new hobby? I don't know, like what are you interested in now?
Yeah, I've got a tequila coming out. I've got a bourbon coming out. There's so many things I've been doing. And I have this foundation called Riptide Society, which is for at-risk youth and young adults in the foster care system here in the United States. So that'll take up a lot of my time. My wife has a clothing line, and I designed the menswear line of that. So that's something that keeps me very busy. And I love gardening. So there's a lot of things. I'm looking at my yard right now thinking, God, I need to trim those trees back, and that needs that bush needs a trim. And so that's all that sort of stuff, getting out there and mowing the grass.
Yeah, that's cool. Sounds really interesting. Going back with the last goodbye tour, there are also some bands that they do like double last tours, like they stretch the line so much they don't want to end. So what do you think about, what's your opinion on those bands? I don't want to mention some names, but I guess you know what we are talking
You
about.
mean Kiss and Deep Purple and the Eagles?
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you know what? It's hard. It's hard to say goodbye to something that you've been doing since, you know, you were a teenager and you've dreamed about your entire life. I mean, being a rock star is, I think, almost, well, when I was growing up, and certainly when the guys in the Eagles and Kiss and all that, they were, I mean, everybody wanted to be a rock star. You know, it's the greatest job in the world. It's also the weirdest job in the world and the worst job in the world. But, you know, I think that, you know, Deep Purple, I think they started their goodbye tour in 1987, you know. But it's like, if you're making the kind of money that, you know, Deep Purple or Kiss or the Eagles or, you know, any of these bands are making, I mean, yeah, it's hard. How do you walk away from hundreds of millions of dollars? But for me, it's never been about the money, you know, and I'm certainly not making the kind of money that those bands are. But, you know, when I got into music, it wasn't about being a rich rock star. It was about, this is the only thing I know. It's the only thing that I am feeling that I want to do. And I was going to do it whether I was successful or completely fell out flat on my face. It was the only thing I knew how to do. It's the only thing I wanted to do. And it is going to be difficult to walk away from it. But, you know, I think that bands like Kiss and those bands that have continued to drag out their tours, it's not just because it's financial. It's really, really hard to say goodbye to something that you love. And, you know, I had those moments on stage this summer several times where, you know, the realization, the gravity of making this decision that I will never sing Far Behind with these four guys standing behind me in this town again. That's a very emotional thing. And I think that that's kind of why it is so hard for these bands to say goodbye.
Yeah, I'm sure it must be really tough. Like you say, it's like the greatest job of all time, but also the weirdest and sometimes can be the worst. So yeah, I find it it is really moving, like lovely to that you guys been playing your first record in a way to saying goodbye to the all fans you guys have. So what does this record mean to you, and why did you decide to play it in its entirety in the shows?
The debut album?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I lost you there for a minute. It froze up. So you're asking, are we going to hear the debut album in its entirety?
Yeah, and what does that record mean to you?
Oh, I got you. Yeah, we'll be playing that down there in its entirety. We've got, you know, 7 other albums we've got to sprinkle in there as well. It's going to be a long set. Both of our headline shows will be probably close to 2 hours.
Cool.
I mean, the debut album to me is everything. I mean, it's like, I would love to meet the first person who bought the very first CD outside of Seattle, you know, because that started a huge way for us. And that one person probably lost that CD to somebody else. And then that person that stole that CD lost it to somebody else, you know, and that's an amazing thing. I mean, that album is so special, not only to us, but to so many people. You know, Maverick Records, it established Madonna's label, you know, it allowed her to sign Alanis Morissette and the Deftones and, you know, and so many, you know, the Prodigy, for God's sakes. So I think our debut album is just a really just special thing that I don't really even know how to explain what the record means to me. It's full of songs that I didn't have any idea even existed inside of me, you know, stories that I tell in those songs. But something in each one of those drew that out of me. And I think that's why it's a special record for so many people, is because I don't tell just my story. I tell a lot of people's stories on that album. And I think that's you know, for me, if that's the legacy of Candlebox is, you know, is that their debut album changed the lives of millions of people, then that's a pretty great legacy to have.
Sure it is. And even though you released the Long Goodbye, your last album recently, I don't know if this information is correct, but I saw that you only been playing one song from that record in your recent shows, and I was wondering why is that?
Oh, that was only on the Three Doors Down dates because we were only allowed an hour on the stage. On our own shows, we're playing. Yeah, in our own shows, we play about four songs from the debut or from Long Goodbye. With South America, we'll probably play about 5.
Oh yeah, all right. So
yeah,
cool for us. Yeah, I was a little scared to not hear those songs because I really love the new record. So
oh, thank you very much.
That's great to hear. So yeah, now speaking about your 4 shows you have in Chile in different venues, is there a special connection you have with Chile since you are doing 4 shows, which for us is like extremely crazy, and we are super happy with it.
Well, you know, I think it's because South Americans, Chileans in particular, really love rock and roll music. And for me, you know, it's going to be nice to switch up those set lists for our own headlining shows, you know, and put in stuff that maybe people aren't expecting us to play. So it's really the freedom that I feel when I play in South America is unlike anything I've experienced. I don't feel free in the States to play new stuff because I feel judged. And I think that South Americans just embrace rock and roll, and they go, when you release a record, they want to hear the record, you know. Here it's like, what's the first single? I maybe I'll download the first single and give it a listen, and it doesn't, I mean, you could stream the whole record and give the whole record a listen, but that doesn't happen here. I mean, Chile is the second, Santiago is the second biggest listening market for us on Spotify, Spotify and Apple Music. So
yeah,
I mean, more so than the entire United States, which is crazy. Yeah. You know? So that's pretty awesome for us.
Yeah, and you are playing in not only in Santiago, which is the main capital, you are playing like the second biggest city in Chile, which is Concepción, in a festival called Rock and Concepción, which are many bands from South America, Argentina, and Chile. Do you have one in mind you would like to see, or you don't know any bands from that festival?
Well, I do know several of them. La Mela Senda, who's playing with us at Chocolate Club, that's, you know, Cristobal is one of my best friends. Fernando from Temple Agents, they have it's called A New Dawn.
Yeah.
Do you know that band?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're, I mean, those guys, like, I love them very much. They become like my brothers, you know, in South America. Like, we talk on the phone all the time. I'm so close to them, and I'm really looking forward to seeing them. But you know, there's so many. The beauty of these festivals in South America is that I'm going to be able to watch bands that I've never heard of, and you know, you play a festival in the States, like, it's, you know, them all, you know, all the bands because they all want to play there, and it's kind of boring. Whereas you go to different countries, you really get to experience what it is that the culture, musical culture, is in that environment, and that's what I really love. I mean, that's how I met the guys from La Mela Senda and Temple Agents. And, you know, I'm so grateful, and that I've had that opportunity to see music on so many different levels when I come there. Like, even when we did Lollapalooza Santiago back in 2016 or whatever it was, or 2017. I mean, so many great bands, you know, that I had never heard of, and I love that.
Yeah, it's Alain Johannes Trio is going to play in Rock and Concepción.
And Alan, Elaine is like an old friend. We took 11 out on the road with us back in 1994. So I'm really excited to see him. I haven't seen him in ages.
Yeah, so it's gonna be you're gonna be together again. So that is cool. So for finishing, my last question here, and I was wondering, which show are you most excited to play in Chile from all the 4? Which is, I know
I think all 4 of them. I don't have, I mean, honestly, I mean, I've gone to Concepcion. I've been there. but
cool.
I've never played there. So I'm actually looking
Yeah.
forward to that. And I think the two smaller shows, I mean, the Chocolate Club sold out, which is amazing. I can't even
Yeah.
believe that. But you know, they're going to be two different set lists. So it's like, that's what I'm most excited about. And even the large festivals, like, will focus mainly on the debut album, because I think we only have like an hour and 15 minutes on those shows. But you know, when you get to play 2 hours of your favorite songs to people that are losing their marbles, I mean, I can't wait to do that. You know, so it's really all four of them I'm excited for.
Yeah, that's so cool when bands do different sets. I really love that. It's like you don't go to see the same show twice. You are going to see, it's like a whole different experience, and it changes all.
Well, you know, it was difficult when we were out with Three Doors Down this summer, because we had to play, you know, 1 hour's worth of music.
Yeah.
We knew that we wanted to celebrate the debut album because of 30th anniversary. So that set was a little strange every night because it was the same.
Yeah.
And we're not, you know, we're not used to that. We've never been that band. It's always been, what are we playing tonight? Let's change that one. Let's throw that one out. Let's do this one.
Cool.
And so that's why it's going to be exciting to come down there to do these fours, because we're able to, the freedom to do that. So, yeah.
So excellent. So, all right, Kevin, thank you so much for your time, for talking with me. And thank you again for returning to Chile. I'm really excited to see you there. So I'll see you, I guess, in one of those 4 shows. I don't know which one I'm going, but I'll see you there.
Gracias, amigo. Just make sure you say hello, okay?
All right.
Punks, we're the same ones that you fear. We pave these streets, that's why you're